Well, hi, my name is Marcus, and I identify as gay. I realized that I like boys at a very early age, and I say that because I didn't have a term or a word for what I was feeling. So, growing up, I was the youngest of seven. I hung out with mostly cousins around my age and also friends from the neighborhood and from school. You know, you were playing with your friends versus chasing girls, and then that's where moments where neighborhood bullies or people slightly older than me would kind of tease me for being a little different or sounding a little different. And it was mainly because in the neighborhood, I would play football and basketball and softball with all the guys on the block. But I would also jump rope and play hopscotch with my female friends and sisters and cousins. So it was my normal. So I didn't feel like at that moment, at such a young age, that I was different until that difference was kind of forced upon me or shown to me, because it was all I knew. And at that moment, it wasn't that I was courting guys at that young of an age, but I knew that I had things for boys. So I went through phases of like self ridicule, and then when I found out from the masses that it was actually different, so just so that I wouldn't become one of those kids who would be picked on all the time, I kind of manned it up a little bit. I did what was acceptable or more acceptable with family, my parents, society, all that, um, just so that I would be looked at as different. When I was home alone or in my room with the door closed and all of that, I did start doing research and figuring out what it was exactly or what people are calling it, what the world called it, so that I could adapt and start using those same terms. And I think the internet was a big help since I didn't have like a person to talk to about it. It just took some time for me to become more comfortable exploring those differences and being who I am as far as being different from the status quo. I think going away to college helped me blossom into the person that I was meant to be. Um, Gained more confidence regarding my sexuality and all of that because I think I was around more people who were like me. So then I became more comfortable in my own truth. My mom took it in stride. She's like my number one cheerleader, so I kind of knew I'd have her support. My dad's a little bit different because he's so solid in his viewpoint and what a black man should be in America and in today's society. I think the less ridicule his kids could and would face, he's happy. So he sat there after I told them. He sat there for a little bit, maybe about 3 minutes. Didn't say anything. At that moment, I was talking to my mom, and she was like, "Well, we kind of knew. We were just waiting on you to be comfortable enough to tell us. We love you, what have you." I was very, very, very blessed to have that support. And then my dad just got up and left. So I didn't know what he was thinking or how he was feeling. And then we didn't talk for about 3 weeks, which was different because we talk every day. Even when I was away at school, maybe 2, 3 times a day, I talked to my dad. So it was weird. And then my dad's youngest brother, who's the uncle on my father's side, who I'm closest to, he called. He was like, "Well, I talked to your dad, and he told me what happened, and I just want you to know that he absolutely loves you, and he's at a point where he's just trying to find the right words to say. Don't feel bad because you haven't heard from him, or what have you." So that helped because I was scared, honestly. My dad was born in Haiti, raised in the South, and so just those two elements, I was just like, I'm not really sure what he's gonna say, and just knowing, him as a man, I didn't know what he was gonna say. So he called me and asked me to come over, and he just stood up and then he came around the table and gave me a hug, and he was like, "I want you to know that I love you." I just needed time to process it and find the right words to say because, I raised you to be strong. I raised you to be a strong man. I raised you to be a strong black man. You've gone to school, you've got some education, you're smart, you've always been intelligent. I know you're going to do well. I just want you to be able to stand up for yourself and be sure that nobody makes a fool out of you. So that was a confirmation for me and a validation. I was just like, well, my parents are good. Like, nobody else and their opinions matter. So since coming out, there have been a number of times where I've manned it up a little bit more, just to pass as, or not even specifically pass as straight, but to where I would present myself so people wouldn't question my sexuality. And that's mainly because there is still a small part of me that kind of doesn't want people to look at me differently, because then that makes me uncomfortable. But even with that, I'm not gonna do anything to make anyone else feel uncomfortable. So if I didn't code switch, that's what I call it. If I didn't turn it on or off in certain environments, I'm not sure what exactly would happen, but what I would predict would be certain people wouldn't even embrace me, the way they normally, or the way that they do when I do code switch. So there are some people who aren't, well, I don't want to say they're not comfortable in themselves, but they aren't comfortable being around homosexual people. Now, my thoughts are that there's something internally that they're battling with, or even if it's just like, internally with a family member or a friend or what have you. But there's something there that'll keep them from embracing me as a person that they've just met, or as a potential friend, or just someone, associate to hang out with for the night. So there's levels of comfort that some people just haven't obtained yet. So I feel like, if I'm turning it off for a moment, even if it's just for a moment, then they can meet Marcus, see who Marcus is, figure out at that point if they're going to like me or not like me. And then once I add that additional layer, then that's their choice. I'm a full-fledged believer in God. I feel like He's the creator of all things. He created us to be exactly who we are before we were even born. I feel like, I was born homosexual, I was born gay, and it just took me a while to come into who I was, born to be. There is a higher sense of homophobia within the Black culture and the Black community, and even in the Black church specifically. And I feel like since the church is pretty much the cornerstone of the Black family, it always has been, and I feel like it always will be, that makes it harder or more difficult for people to accept, this different way of living, so this different way of life. We're taught that homosexuality is a sin and it's wrong, and that it's an abomination to God. So people feel like that's a sin that's larger than any others, and that's one that we should work on not indulging in. Other sins are okay, so you can lie, you can cheat on your wife, you can go have children outside of your marriage, and be okay. But should you be homosexual, then you can't be the Black man that the family needs. I know tons of, African American men who are gay, who are homosexual, and who have children, and they're still a man. We're men above anything else. And I feel like, if you're raised to value what traits a man should have, what characteristics a man should have, then that always resonates with you, and it's always going to be who you are and a part of who you are. So then you can be a man for your family, meaning you can be the strength your family needs, and the protector your family needs, and then the teacher, your family needs. I think that being a homosexual, people tend to automatically think you're less of a man, or you're less manly, especially being Black. Most people feel like that's already one strike you have against you, because again, that's not what America was built on. America was built on being the straight white male. Some people will say I have two strikes against me because I'm Black and I'm gay, but I don't think so. I think that it's a true testament of like what America is evolving to be. I don't feel like I'm less of a man or less strong or less of a strong man because I'm gay. I just feel like I find strength, and I find the strength to live in my truth and to portray that truth to the world. I think it takes a special person to be able to stand in their truth, live in their truth, and be exactly who they are. Because I feel like all we have as young kids are our family, and if our family kind of blackballs us or, kicks us out and what have you, and that does happen, I feel like that scars, and it leaves a mental scar to a lot of people. If a kid's confidence is already shot, because they're internalizing the shame, and they're going to struggle, not only with that, but it's going to, carry over to other facets of their lives. So I feel like it's good for me. I like to be who I am, and be my happy self around my family, so that my nephews, should any of them, or my nieces, should any of them feel like they're different from what's considered normal, then that they too can have a future where they can be happy, and they know that it's okay to be who you are. Your family's gonna love you, and then people, that itself, when your family loves you, that itself fosters like the love internally, so then you love yourself more. I feel like sex negativity is another means of forcing people to play down their sexuality. And I think that's another way of keeping us in a box. And it is also another way to internalize shame, because if you want to be creative with your sexuality. So the ways that I try to stay sex positive is to continue having conversations with people I meet, even if we're not, on a sexual level. Just what are things you're interested in, or what's the craziest thing you've ever done, just to talk about it, and that way it'll force me to start thinking about things.
Okay, now stop smiling.
I can't. You laugh.